In this video we're going to recap the Japanese action drama movie called Kingdom. This movie tells the story of a slave who has a dream of becoming a great war general. The film begins by showing two men who are going to the slave market to sell some of the slaves they brought with them, but they are forced to stop because a great general named Aoki is crossing the road with thousands of his soldiers. A kid slave named Shien, who is the main character in this film, is so impressed when he sees General Aoki for the first time, and it inspires him to have a dream of becoming a great general one day. Shien is finally bought by an old man named Ritten, and there he meets his new friend who is also a slave named Piao. They both turn out to be orphans who are victims of a war that has lasted for 500 years because of the vast territory of China, which is divided into 6 countries, making war inevitable. Shien then asks Piao how to change their fate so they won't be slaves forever, and Piao says that the only way to change their destiny is through the sword. After completing their work, Piao invites Shien to practice swordsmanship because they both have the same goal of becoming a great general. They always practice together until they finally grow up. In the training, Piao manages to beat Shien because Shien sees someone coming. Shien is furious and insults the man, but the noble man immediately leaves them. When they return home after looking for firewood, they see the man they had met earlier, and it turns out to be one of the king's ministers named Changwon. Their master tells Piao that Minister Changwon wants to invite him to work in the palace. Piao pleads with the minister to take Shien with him, but Changwon says that he only needs one person, which means Shien will stay with his master. After considering everything, Piao finally decides to accept the offer, and he is forced to leave Shien because it is a golden opportunity for him to realize his dream of becoming a general. Before Piao leaves, they have their final training together as a farewell, and Shien promises to follow Piao to the palace soon. Although it's hard to continue his life without Piao, Shien keeps training to become stronger so that he will get opportunities like Piao. Day after day, he always trains hard until he is finally able to cleave hard rock with just his wooden sword. When Shien is sleeping one night, he wakes up after hearing something. He checks it and it turns out to be Piao, who comes in seriously injured. Piao tells Shien that in the palace, the king's brother named Qingjiao staged a coup to seize the throne. Piao gives him a map and tells Shien to go to a point on the map, and afterwards he asks Shien to leave his body there so that Qingjiao's men will find it. Shien takes Piao's sword and immediately goes to the point on the map according to the message Piao gave. Meanwhile, a former general named Zotzi and his soldiers arrive at the village. After seeing Piao's body, he looks dissatisfied and says that the body is fake. Zotzi then orders his soldiers to massacre all the villagers and burn the village to remove the traces. Back to Shien, he finally arrives at a point on the map that turns out to be a hut. When Shien enters the hut, he is very surprised to see Piao in it. Shien really thinks it is Piao, and suddenly they are attacked by one of the assassins. Shien is very confused about what is going on, but he can find out that the man who looks like Piao is the king of the Qin kingdom named Yingjing. Shien realizes that Piao has sacrificed himself to protect the king and that the reason Piao is employed in the palace is because he has a face that looks like the king. Although Shien is furious about what the king did to his brother, he chooses to help him first to defeat the assassin. The assassin is a strong opponent which makes Shien hit several times, but with a strong determination to take revenge for Piao's death, Shien is finally able to defeat the assassin. Afterwards, the king lets Shien decide if he wants to kill him, but the king warns Shien that Piao died to protect him without any coercion. Shien finally decides to go with the king because the royal soldiers are definitely chasing them. When they are about to continue their journey, suddenly someone in a strange costume stops them. The strange person turns out to be a woman named Caryatine who comes from a mountain tribe. She offers to show them the secret passage on the condition that Yingjing has to pay for it with money. Yingjing agrees to the deal, and they immediately rush to avoid the enemy who is chasing them. Caryatine guides them to a secret passage through a hidden cave, and their Yingjing tells Shien everything about the truth that Piao is the reason he is still alive. He had warned Piao that the mission he accepted by pretending to be king could endanger his life, but Piao gladly accepted the mission and said it was a great honor for him. At the royal palace, Qingjiao is furious after learning that his brother is still alive, so he orders his advisor to send more soldiers to capture Yingjing. Back to Yingjing and Shien, they keep moving towards the secret meeting point with Minister Changwon. When they are walking among the bamboo trees, suddenly a strange man attacks them, and he turns out to be one of the assassins who wants to kill Yingjing. Shien tries to fight him, but he is surprised that the assassin has an abnormal ability that makes it very difficult for Shien to defeat him. With the sword skills he has, Shien is finally able to defeat the assassin, even though he also falls unconscious at the same time from being hit by a poison dart. When he regains consciousness, Xian is already at the place which is the rendezvous point they are looking for. Shortly after, their hideout is surrounded by royal troops, but it turns out that they are Minister Changwen and his soldiers who are still loyal to Yingjing. Changwen tells Yingjing that the reason he is still alive is because he and his soldiers managed to escape through an underground passage on the night Qingjiao revolted. Meanwhile, Qingjiao has gathered 80,000 soldiers to prepare for battle. Yingjing and Qingjiao turn out to be born of different women. Qingjiao's mother was a noblewoman, while Yingjing's mother was a dancer who came from a lowly family. Therefore, he believes that he is more worthy to be king than Yingjing. In front of his troops, Yingjing praises a soldier who manages to become a commander even though he comes from a lowly family. But suddenly, a giant man named Ringkai immediately kills the man on Qingjiao's orders because he wants all his soldiers to come from the nobility. If Qingjiao has already prepared his army, then Yingjing is very confused because they don't have enough troops to fight Qingjiao. Changwen then has a brilliant idea when he sees Caryatyn, who is from a mountain tribe. He suggests that they have to try to re-establish alliances with the mountain tribes as their ancestors did. Yingjing strongly agrees with the idea and says they should try to meet with the king of the mountain tribes even though it will not be easy to persuade them to join. The next day, they begin their journey to the mountain tribes. When they arrive in a jungle, they are suddenly attacked by a group of mountain tribes that they are looking for. The mountain tribes consider them enemies because they have entered their territory. Fortunately, Caryatyn can understand their language and explains that they just want to meet their king. The mountain tribes immediately tie them all up and will bring them to the palace. Apparently, the tribe has a fairly large kingdom, which makes all of them very amazed to see the palace of the mountain tribe for the first time. When they enter the palace, Yingjing explains the purpose of his arrival and asks the mountain tribes for help in seizing the throne from his half-brother. The king of the mountain tribes is Yutanwa, and he initially refuses because of the bad history between them. In the past, the mountain tribe once helped the Qin kingdom, and they formed a great alliance with the previous Qin king named Dukman, but after Dukman died, the Qin people betrayed the mountain tribes by massacring thousands of them and driving them back to the mountains. Yingjing apologizes for his ancestors' past mistakes and begs the mountain tribes to help him fight against his half-brother. After careful consideration, Yutanwa finally agrees to help him. Then Yutanwa takes off his mask, which shocks Yingjing and his men to find out that he is actually a woman. After that, Yingjing shows them a map of the royal palace to organize their strategy. He explains his strategy, in which he and his people would disguise themselves as mountain tribes to enter the palace. On the following day, they begin to carry out their plan to get into the palace. Although the mountain tribes have hundreds of thousands of soldiers, Yutanwa only brought 3,000 of her best soldiers. The guard tells Qingjiao that the reason for the mountain tribe's arrival is that they want to re-establish an alliance with the Qin kingdom. Qingjiao agrees with the alliance because it means that he will have thousands of armies to assist his kingdom. Qingjiao's advisor immediately orders the mountain tribes to enter the palace, but of the 3,000 soldiers he only allows Yutanwa to bring in 50 soldiers with her. Yutanwa takes her 40 best soldiers, while the other 10 are Yingjing and his people. When they manage to enter the gate, Yingjing immediately begins his plan by killing the guards at the gate. He divides them all into two groups, where he orders Xian and 10 soldiers to sneak into the king's throne hall through a secret passage, while Yingjing himself will move as bait with the mountain tribes through the main gate. However, their plan doesn't go smoothly because the enemy archers have been waiting for their arrival and immediately open fire, causing some of them to be killed. Wang Qin advises them to retreat first and return with their soldiers who are outside the fort. However, Yutanwa doesn't feel scared at all, and unexpectedly, the mountain tribes wake up again despite being hit by arrows. The enemy soldiers look frightened after seeing the brutality of the mountain tribes, who are uncivilized and possess extraordinary strength. Meanwhile, Xian must also be able to defeat the enemy soldiers who are already waiting for their arrival. When the fierce battle is taking place, they are surprised by the appearance of Ringkai. With his crazy strength, Ringkai instantly defeats them one by one with just his bare hands. Xian finds it very difficult to fight him at first, but after they fight together to incapacitate him, Xian is able to defeat Ringkai and behead him. They are finally able to enter the palace and meet Qingjiao, who is sitting on his throne. However, their fight isn't over yet because they have to fight General Zotzi, who is already on standby there to protect Qingjiao. Although the mountain tribes try to fight Zotzi, they are unable to defeat him. Zotzi is actually a general with extraordinary sword skills, but he was dismissed as a general for the massacre he committed, and now he is an assassin. Xian tries to beat him even though Zotzi almost kills him many times. After a fierce battle, Xian then uses the sword technique that he has always practiced, and the sword move finally manages to defeat Zouci. Qingjiao is frightened, so he immediately runs away from there. When he sees that Yingjing is broken through the main gate, Qingjiao orders the soldiers to kill him, but the soldiers are silent and no one obeys his orders. Yingjing says that this matter is between two brothers, so they have to duel to end this conflict. Yingjing manages to defeat Qingjiao with just one slash of the sword, which makes Qingjiao scream in pain. Yingjing then beats him until he is battered, but because he has won the battle, Yingjing chooses not to kill him even though Qingjiao has betrayed him. One of the generals loyal to Qingjiao chooses to continue fighting because he knows he and his soldiers would be executed for treason. However, General Aoki suddenly comes to the palace with his soldiers. General Aoki then asks Yingjing a few questions about his dream of becoming king of the Qing Kingdom. Yingjing says that he has formed an alliance with the mountain tribes, and he has a dream of becoming the first king who could unite all of China. This glorious dream finally makes General Aoki choose to side with him and asks General Ting to surrender. General Ting refuses to surrender, and he instead orders his soldiers to behead Generals Aoki and Yingjing. They forget that General Aoki is one of Qin's 6 strongest generals, and a single strike of his spear sword is enough to send them bouncing off. General Ting tries to kill Yingjing, but Xian manages to kill him on time. And then the movie closes with Xian telling General Aoki that one day he will be a great general like him.